Hi, guys. My name is Jeff, and this is our Week 1 NFL review. This is the first time I've ever done kind of a format like this, so let me explain kind of what we're going to do. And if you guys have suggestions to make this better for future weeks, let me know down in the comments. Um, I'm actually just going to go game by game and give you guys my impressions showing the scoreboard so you guys can see the scores of the game, go over some things that I noticed about the game, about the teams. I will give my opinions. I am obviously biased, right? I'm a Chargers fan. Okay. So let's get that out of the way first. I'm a Chargers fan. I've been a Chargers fan 35, 36 years. Okay. I've lived a life of pain, but, but, I love football. Ooh, of all sports, but I love football, and I really wanted to try something like this and kind of see what happens with it. So let's start out. Our first game on Thursday was the Ravens and the Chiefs, and the darn Chiefs won again. They actually played very well. Who let the Chiefs get another really, really fast receiver? Oh, it was the Bills. The Bills did it. Damn, Buffalo, why are you trading with the Chiefs? Why are you giving them draft picks to give them more fast people? Pacheco ran like a man possessed. He was incredible that entire game. Mahomes did what Mahomes does. He did kind of look a little off in some spots, but he got bailed out. And let's be real, the Ravens lost by a toe, but one play doesn't make a game. That's just the play we all remember because it was the last play of the game where Likely's toe was literally out of bounds. It wasn't a bad call. Before that, Lamar did miss a wide open Zay Jones in the end zone, completely missed him, right? And Lamar played a great game. I think he had like 124 yards rushing. He threw the ball relatively well. But when you're the MVP who's trying to fight for that first Super Bowl, you can't be missing wide open receivers in the end zone. He's judged like that, right? Like that's how he's judged. But overall, it was a really good game, a great start to the season. The Ravens are going to be fine. I do think their defense looked a little off, not as fast. Losing Patrick Queen is going to hurt them, right? It's going to hurt them. But they'll adjust. They got a good coaching staff over there. And the Ravens will be just fine. But the Chiefs do what the Chiefs do, and they just win football games. So, and then the next game here, as you guys see the scoreboard scrolling for us, Packers and Eagles, another fantastic football game. Friday night football in Brazil, which was interesting. But it was it was a super fun game. Saquon Barkley, and for those of you that know me, I watched Saquon Barkley play in the Fiesta Bowl out here in Arizona where I live. Years and years ago, they played Washington, and I became a Saquon fan from that day on. He was the fastest dude on a field full of fast people. He's been hit with the injury bug. He played in a not so good system with the Giants. Didn't make the playoffs once I believe it was. But he is so damn good. If he stays healthy, the Eagles are going to be tough to beat. Like, just straight out tough to beat. 3 touchdowns. Packers defense was not good against the run. Hurts looked good. Good, not great. And overall, they played well. The one bugaboo for the Eagles in this particular game, their defense didn't look good either. They gave up points. Jordan Love had a decent game. Josh Jacobs looked fantastic. So, I think both teams are in good spots with work to do, and that's what you want from your better teams in the league. The Packers are going to be okay. They played a tough division, though. The Lions are going to be a problem to deal with, and we'll talk about them later. But yeah, that was a great game. I enjoyed that game. I'm usually not a big fan of the international games because usually they're on at weird times, but this one was on in the evening. It was awesome. I didn't have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, because I live in Arizona, right? So when they do those early games in England and Germany, I'm like, I gotta wake up at 6 o'clock to watch a football game. Screw that. But but this one was good. It was well done. And I know there were some issues with certain other stuff and political stuff going on over there, but it seemed like the game went off pretty well. There was a problem with players slipping on the field, but they adjusted. I mean, like, that's just part of the process when you go to other places and other fields like that, but they adjusted. So I think that was fine. It seemed like it went off pretty well without a hitch. The Steelers and the Falcons, I do not know how the Steelers win football games other than God might be a Steelers fan. They were so bad offensively. Their kicker is their best offensive player. What do you make, like 5 field goals? Fields had some good spots. I think he should be the starter over Russell Wilson, period. Najee Harris was Their offensive line was meh, but they still win. The Falcons made all those moves in the offseason, right? And they came out looking like this. How are you not force-feeding Bijan Robinson the football? Give that man the ball. He's your playmaker. Put the ball in his hands. Pitts scored a touchdown. Yay! So what? The Falcons need to win football games because there's 2 other teams in the division that looked incredible offensively in week 1 in the Buccaneers and the Saints. The Falcons need to figure it out. And I don't know, like, if they lose 2 or 3 more games in a row, right? If they start 0-3, 0-4, Kirk Cousins is going to lose his job. They're going to start Penix, right? And look at ways to cut their losses with that stupid contract that Kirk Cousins should have never got. He's mid. He's mid, right? And give Bijan the ball. Unfreaking real. The Cardinals. I like the Cardinals because I live out here. Their fans are delusional, and it's great and wonderful. But honestly, they should have won this game. Kyler was okay. 1 catch for 4 yards for Marvin Harrison Jr. is unacceptable. He was covered very well. The Bills played very good defense, especially in the second half. Josh Allen was great. What do you have? 4 touchdowns total, throwing and rushing. Second half, they scored 24 points. Remember, the Cardinals were winning this game at the half. And they can't finish. They cannot finish. Right? And I get it. It's on the road. It's an early game on the East Coast. Don't care. It's week 1. Gotta show out. You gotta show out. You gotta showcase your number 1 pick, Marvin Harrison Jr., who was touted as, I'm not doing pro days. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. Blah, 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 blah. 1 catch for 4 yards. You didn't scheme him in to get him the ball early on a wide receiver screen and end around, something to get him the ball. Didn't happen. And he was wide open to potentially win the game, and Kyler didn't see him. Was that a short joke? Maybe. Didn't see him. So the Cardinals, as always, have you had a great offseason. Truly they did. Right? But when it comes time to deliver, they do what the Cardinals do. Nothing. Now, it's week 1. This isn't like the end of the season. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to say that or do that. But they have to figure out ways to move the ball when it matters most. And that's in the 4th quarter. The Titans and the Bears. First off, Caleb Williams did not look good. Bears fans, I love you because you're crazy. Caleb did not look good, but they still won, and that's what matters here. For the Bears, who are building something, right? They won, and they won kind of in the Bears' way. Their defense. They scored 14 points in the 4th quarter. 14 points. They were losing 17-10 going into the 4th. And they scored 14 points in the 4th quarter when it matters. They did what the Cardinals couldn't. Right? And that's put a team away. They put a team away. Now, can you rely on your defense to score you points like that at the end of every game? Absolutely not. Caleb Williams will figure it out. He's a talented guy, right? Like, I'm not worried about Caleb. I do know that, and I always say his name wrong, is it Unduze? Their receiver that they drafted, I believe he got hurt. So we'll kind of have to see. I haven't looked at the injury report today. So we'll have to kind of see what that looks like in terms of, is he going to miss games, practice time, things like that? Because that stuff matters for a young player. But overall, the Bears defense looked good. They got a lot of work to do offensively, but they'll do that work. They got a good coach. I think the Bears are figuring it out in terms of how they're operating as a franchise. And the Titans, you know what? To be fair to the Titans, they looked way better than I thought they were going to look. Tony Pollard was okay. I'm not a Levis believer. I don't think a lot of Titans fans are Levis believers. But they looked okay, but they looked okay against an offense that was doing nothing. What's going to happen when they play a competent offense? They're going to give up a lot of points. A lot of points. So, in probably the most surprising game of the weekend, the Patriots beating the Bengals on the road. Joe Burrow looked terrible. Terrible. Right? And I'm a Joe Burrow guy. I love Joe Shiesty. But that's just not going to get the job done. And the Patriots, who everyone thought were going to be nothing, and they still might be nothing, but in week one, they were something, man. That defense, they played like dogs, like straight up dogs. They shut down what everyone thought was going to be a very, very good offense. Again, week one, we're not going to overreact to the season's over, yada, yada, yada. That's not going to happen. The Bengals didn't have T. Higgins, but they had this guy called Jamar Chase who didn't do much. So, I mean, like, the Bengals definitely have a lot of work to do. But again, week one, the Patriots can build off this. The Patriots are in a tough division, right? But they can build off this. Getting a win like that with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, that's, hey, look, kudos to them. Shout out to them. They looked very good defensively. They were able to move the ball when they needed to. So, good on the Pats. They played really well. In a very close divisional game, I love week one division games, by the way. I think week one division games are just cool because both teams, like, you just don't know what you have until you see it. And the Texans and Colts literally just went punch for punch. Just socked each other in the face the entire game. And the difference, Stephon Diggs scored 2 touchdowns. And CJ Stroud is still that guy. But so is Anthony Richardson. He's that guy. He is that guy. Anthony Richardson looked great, right? He did get slammed to the ground pretty hard and smashed his head. He was okay, wasn't taken off or anything, but there was no flag on that play, right? A lot of other quarterbacks, I mean, hell, if that happened to Patrick Mahomes, like, you can't mess with Princess Patty and guarantee a flag is thrown if that happens to him, right? But it happened to Richardson, got slammed to the ground, and there was no flag. I was like, what? But he looked awesome. Awesome. And gosh, I hope he stays healthy because a Stroud-Richardson divisional rivalry for the next 10 to 15 years, sign me up. Sign me up. And I'm not a fan of either team, but sign me up for that kind of football because that game was awesome to watch. Like, it was great. Great game. The Texans came out on top. They're going to continue to develop offensively that relationship between Diggs and Stroud. They still have Nico Collins, Tank Dell. All that stuff's going to continue to develop throughout the season. They're going to be tough to stop. Jags and the Dolphins. The Dolphins end up winning this game, right? They end up winning this game. Tyreek Hill, obviously we all know what happened before the game, right? A lot of the body cam footage is coming out, and you guys can make your own conclusions about that. If you want to know my opinions about that, please ask it. I'll give them to you. But I'm here to talk about football right now. Tyreek Hill's really fast. Devin Achane is freaking good, right? But it took them a minute to get warmed up at the half, it was 17-7. 17-7 Jags. The Dolphins defense deserves a lot of credit. They shut out the Jags in the second half. They deserve a ton of credit. I know we're all talking about Tyreek Hill both on and off the field. He was great on the field. But that defense for Miami deserves a ton of credit. A ton of credit. Because they came in and they shut it down. They said, hey, we're losing to the Jags right now at home, and we're supposed to maybe potentially be Super Bowl contenders. That ain't going to happen. So that defense, Jalen Ramsey got paid. He's starting to earn that paycheck, because they looked absolutely fantastic in that second half. Great performance in that second half. In probably these next two games, as you can see, are the worst games ever. I wasn't a guy that wanted to call Bryce Young a bust last season, right? Because he's a young rookie coming into a bad situation. But they put some pieces around him, and he didn't do crap with them. Their offensive line is a problem. And Bryce Young looked terrible. He made a Saints team that no one other than Saints fans thought was going to be very good look like world beaters. Now, the Saints put up 47, right? They scored on defense. They scored on offense. Derek Carr looked very good. They were also playing the Panthers, right? The Saints are still a wait and see, right? Can they get Alvin Kamara going early when they play the Bucs? Right, because that's going to be the one, because I was not impressed with the Falcons at all. This division early on is now Bucs Saints, right? Let them go at it. Let's see what happens. Putting up 47, I believe that was the highest score of the weekend, right? You're still playing against an NFL team. The other team gets paid too, so the Saints deserve a lot of credit for what they did, but they were playing a lower tier team, probably the lowest tier team in the league. And Bryce Young looked terrible. I don't think the Panthers are fixing this anytime soon. They're in full-on rebuild mode. The problem with being on full-on rebuild mode when when your second-year quarterback is still on their rookie contract, eventually you're going to have to pay him or admit you messed up and cut your losses. And the Panthers are nowhere close to being competitive at all. At all. The Saints, for me, are still a wait and see, but very impressive. They still put up 47 points. And that's impressive. The Vikings and the Giants. The Giants are the poster children for why there should be relegation and promotion in the NFL. That is not an NFL football team. They are bad. Bad. They had a field goal in the first quarter and the third quarter and did nothing else offensively. Their defense looked okay in spots, and eventually they were going to wear down with all the 3-and-outs they were getting, the turnovers. And the Vikings looked better than expected, right? Sam Darnold managed that offense. Wasn't a world beater, didn't have to be. He's playing against a Pee-wee team. But he managed that offense. They got Justin Jefferson his touchdown, got him involved, were able to move the ball on the ground. Right now, I do believe that Addison got an injury. Again, I have not looked at the injury part. I don't know the extent of any injuries. And that'll obviously be something they have to navigate. Hawkinson did not play in this game. So it'll be interesting to see how they manage that. But Darnold looked okay. He looked good enough, right? Now, again, what's going to happen when they play the Packers? What's going to happen when they play the Lions, right? When they play an actual team, right? But again, you can only play who's in front of you. They went on the road and put a team away. And that deserves respect. Straight up respect. Daniel Jones is not an NFL quarterback. He's terrible. Terrible. You paid a guy that cannot run your offense. If I was a Giants fan, I'd be pissed. Truly, I would be upset because they looked absolutely terrible. Raiders and Chargers, look, let's be real. The Raiders are terrible offensively. And And the Chargers probably looked better than advertised on the ground. Remember, we only scored 9 points in the first 3 quarters. Look, I love my Chargers fans. I love Chargers Twitter /X, right, where we get all excited. Yeah, we're the best. Yeah. Calm down. We scored 9 points in the first 3 quarters. 9. Right? J.K. Dobbins looked great. The offensive line looked great. Joe Alt shut Max Crosby down. Max Crosby had 0 quarterback pressures. 0 quarterback pressures. We ran the ball. We controlled the clock. Exactly what Coach Harbaugh does. Right? I'm glad we got a win. I'm glad we beat the Raiders because the Raiders are trash. Right? Their fans trash. Not all of them, but like 98% of them. There's like 15 fights in the stadium, probably more. And again, I'm biased, right? Right, but the Raiders are trash, right? They are not a good football team. They're not good on offense. They're okay on defense at best. They're finishing probably last in the division, maybe third. Right, because the Broncos aren't good either. But I do think the Broncos might be a little better than the Raiders. Maybe. But the Chargers looked okay. Calm down, Chargers fans. Calm down. Okay, let's see if we can sustain this. It was nice to see Ladd McConkey get his first touchdown. Right, he juked the crap out of one of the Raiders' corners and scored. That was nice. Herbert only had about 147 yards passing and that 1 touchdown pass. But his numbers are probably going to decrease because we're going to run the ball, which is nice. Win's a win. I'm going to take 1-0 every single time, but let's see when we play an actual team like the Chiefs. Broncos and Seahawks. Bo Nix looked like a rookie who's like my age because he played did he have like a 20-year college football career? Again, I hate the Broncos just like I hate the Raiders and Chiefs. Just like they hate Chargers. Bo Nix looked bad in spots. The Seahawks did have to kind of dig out of a hole. They were losing at the half. I believe it was 9-13. Then the Seahawks scored 10 in the third quarter. Both teams scored 7 in the fourth. Geno Smith had a bomb. It was like a 30-40-yard bomb for a touchdown. He ran for a touchdown. Geno looked serviceable. As always, Geno looks serviceable. He looked good. Broncos offensively did not look good. Defensively, the first half, pretty good. But overall, was not impressed with the Broncos. The Seahawks looked okay. We'll see when they play the 49ers. We'll see when they play the Cardinals. Maybe a more explosive offense to see how that defense does. Cowboys and Browns. This one was surprising to me. Deshaun Watson and his legal issues, his new legal issues, is a bad NFL quarterback. The Browns dumping Baker Mayfield is terrible. It looks worse and worse as time goes on, right? The Browns had the number 1 defense in the league last year, and they didn't lose many pieces. And the Cowboys came out and smashed them in the face. Dak looked really good. Zeke gets a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb looked okay. They had a punt return for a touchdown. All 3 phases of the game, the Cowboys looked very good. A very scary football team. And again, I'm not a Cowboys fan. I'm not a we dem boys, right? But if I was a Cowboys fan, I'd be very excited what I just saw. Because most Cowboys fans who were thinking with their brains and not their hearts were very worried about this football game. Crap, we're going to lose week 1. Then we play the Saints in week 2. Well, the Saints scored more points than the Cowboys. Again, I know they played the Panthers. That could be an offensive shootout. Or we're going to find out who the Saints really are on offense when they play a defense that looked very good. Forced turnovers. Diggs got a pick. It's good to have him back. The Cowboys looked very good. Probably out of all the games this week, the Cowboys had the most complete football game against a very good team. The Browns, on the other hand, Offensively, nope. Y'all wanted Deshaun Watson. You thought he was your savior at quarterback. Should have kept Baker Mayfield. Baker was your savior. Bad idea. Commanders and Bucks. Jaden Daniels, go Sun Devils. I know he went to LSU and that's where he won a Heisman, but he started at ASU. Okay, that's where I went to school. Okay. Jaden looked okay, looked like a rookie, right? He had a couple of really good runs. The Bucks are a good football team. They're good. Baker is good. And that guy, Mike Evans, probably the most underrated great receiver of this era. That dude is, each year, it's 90 catches, 1,000 yards, 10 to 13 touchdowns, like clockwork. That guy is crazy good. Crazy good. And I don't think he gets enough credit for it, but some weird random guy on the internet, Mike Evans, if you ever happen to watch this video, everyone send this video to Mike Evans. I think you're that good. Okay? You are fun to watch. And he made the committee he turned it on a couple of Commanders defenders and caught some great passes from Baker. They looked very good. Very good. Rams and Lions, probably the funnest game of the weekend. It's overtime, the only overtime game of the weekend. And then the Lions had one possession in overtime and ran the ball down the Rams' throat. That's what happened. Right? It was 10-3 Lions at the half, and they let the Rams get back in. Right? So they gave up points, and a lot of points, that kept the Rams hanging around, but then in overtime, when it mattered, they laid down the hammer. Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery, the running game looked very good. The problem for the Lions was Amon-Ra St. Brown was not existent in that game. They could not get him the ball. The Rams defense still looked very good, which to me was a little surprising because losing Aaron Donald, that's not just losing a guy. That's losing the guy, right? So they looked a lot better than I thought they would. So they were actually very impressive. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Rams do in the NFC West against the 49ers. The Lions, man, they still came back and won that game, but they weren't very explosive. So they have something to build on. Again, that's not bad for a good team. It's nice getting a win in week one. It's a long season, but they were good when they had to be good, right? So good on them, but the Rams were way better defensively than expected. And our last game, Monday Night Football, the Jets and the 49ers. That score, the Jets were kind of gifted a few points at the end. The 49ers, without Christian McCaffrey, were able to run the ball down the throats of a Jets defense. Down their throats. Just hand the ball off. Go, go, go. Right? Getting Debo involved. Ayuk did drop a touchdown pass, and everyone's like, well, maybe you should have signed that contract earlier. Look, he's a Sun Devil. He could do no wrong, okay? Shut up. You still got your guy. He'll figure it out, right? It didn't cost you anything in the end, right? Debo's a dog. He always has been. Purdy looked good, managed the game. He did go deep a couple times, right? But, he's... he's that check down warrior because he can be. That's how good that offense is, right? You get it to your playmakers in space, 7 to 10 yards down the field, and let them rack up your yards as a quarterback. There's nothing wrong with that. People that whine, bitch, moan, and complain about that, that's fine. That's your prerogative, but throwing deep on every play is not how this league is played, even in the explosive offensive era. The 49ers looked good. The Jets looked awful. Right? They were supposed to challenge the Dolphins and the Bills. No way. No way. At all. In any way is that happening. Rodgers looked middle of the road. He looked old, right? And I'm saying that as an old person, right? But he looked football old. Slow decision-making. Bad decision-making. throwing into traffic. Jets have a lot of work to do, and I don't know if they have the personnel. There might be some changes coming to the Jets this offseason, and I know that might be an overreaction in week 1, right? But that's what I'm saying right now. But overall, the 49ers look good. Very, very interesting to see how they play against the Rams and the Cardinals. And the Seahawks, because they won too. I think that I think that division of the NFC West is going to be very, very interesting to watch. So that's week 1. We had the new dynamic kickoff, which produced, I believe, 1 touchdown return and a bunch of touchbacks, which I don't think the league was expecting. We also had the implementation of the new penalty for offensive linemen. It's added into the illegal procedure. I think we saw that called about 22 times in week 1. The refs will get better at that, and the players will adjust better to that as well. But overall, man, football's back. It was great to watch. I'm glad that I did this. Please let me know if there's anything else you guys want me to add or take away to these weekly reviews. I'm going to try to do them every single week and throw them out on YouTube. So thanks for listening, guys. Let me know your impressions. Let me know who your favorite team is down in the comments and the record you think they're going to finish with. All right, guys? Happy football, and I'll see you guys next time.